thank you so much for joining, Greg. I guess, probably it's helpful for the listeners if I know you got a lot of stuff going on, but in, 30 to 60 seconds, what would you describe, your profession to be?
That's a good question. I would have said personal trainer, but that's morphed. I mean, it used to be at one point it was weight loss. Now it's seniors. I mean, that's changed a lot too. I think I look for what other people aren't doing or can't do, or aren't doing or aren't willing to do, and that's what I do.
Yeah, and that comes through via personal training. I know you do photography. You've done safaris. I know you're looking into investment properties right now. But so basically right now you consider yourself like an entrepreneur who sees opportunities where others don't want to go.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's not rocket science. I show up when somebody else can't or won't.
Yeah. And that primarily comes through with like personal training right now. Is that where you say like the majority of your cash comes from?
A lot of people are personal trainers, but they won't go to your house because it's not prestigious enough for them. Yeah. So that opened up an avenue for me. If you won't do it, then I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then now I go to people's homes and I help seniors stay in their homes longer. Well, most people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s don't want to do that. It's not sexy. So I do it.
Yeah.
So I can have all the business I want because nobody else wants to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then I guess in short, and I know you do the wildlife safaris, you do photography. So you have a lot of different avenues, but that's helpful, I guess, providing context. So one thing we like to do is just sort of start things off, with a little bit of rapid fire questions to get things going. So the first one would be, is there a book that inspired you on your business journey at all?
Oh, I don't know about a book per se, but just little bits from different books, right? So just
examples.
Stephen Covey talked about proactive differentiation, and that stuck with me all these years from when I read it in my 20s. And again, for me, that's just doing what other people are unwilling to do. If you see an avenue, if you see a need and you're willing to do it and other people aren't, then do it, because you're not going to have any competition. Because the hardest part in business, I think, is having a coffee shop when there's 14 coffee shops in a 3-block radius.
Yeah.
That to me is tough. Right.
Yeah.
But if you have some sort of specialty shop that nobody else does, then to me, go for it, because it's a lot easier to run a business when you don't have to worry about competition.
Yeah. So what was that? Sorry, what was the book called?
Oh, I think that was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, probably.
And the concept was called something differentiation.
Proactive differentiation.
Proactive differentiation.
You just proactively find something that other people aren't doing, and that's what you do.
Okay, got it. Do you have any?
In layman's terms, that's really dumbing it down, but
yeah,
that's it.
Do you have any podcasts that you would recommend? Like, what's your favorite podcast?
You know what? I can't say
well, perfect. There's room now for us to become your favorite. So that's helpful. Do you have a favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Yeah, no, not really. I like those what do you call it? Those real life movies, those true story movies. Yeah. Anything like that. That's
like a biopic or something.
Well, that's sort of motivational and emotional, say, based on a true story. I love those things.
Yeah. So I know you're a wildlife photographer. If there was any place in the world you could go to shoot, where would that be?
I've already done the ones that I want to do. Nowhere else really.
And so what was the top one then?
I like Botswana. Well, I like Kenya. I like Patagonia. Each of those African countries, Patagonia isn't African, but each of those countries have their own. I like Patagonia because you're on foot with the pumas. I like Alaska because you're on foot with the brown bears, and there's some element of oh, holy crap, I wonder if this goes sideways. But, I'm still here, so it hasn't gone too sideways. But yeah, I love being around those apex predators. On foot is incredible.
What's the sketchiest moment you've had shooting wildlife?
It's in 2011, and the group, we noticed that these two brown bear siblings, they're about 15 months old. They would always end up near the lodge every night. And so the second last night we were there, I said, you guys go ahead and do what you're going to do. I'm going to hang out here at the lodge, and I'm going to photograph those bears when they come to the lodge. And sure enough, they did. So I'm about, I don't know, a mile away from the lodge or something. And brown bears, as an adult, the confident ones, if you don't scare them, they don't care about you. And the cubs, well, they're scared of you. So as long as they're with their mom, they don't care too much. But a teenage boy is the most dangerous bear you can be around because he wants to prove himself. And he's like, at that point, I don't know, 600 pounds of pure muscle, right? And you just don't want, anyway. So I'm photographing him and his sister, and then I was backing up because they're coming a little too close for my big lens. I was backing up, and I was photographing his sister, and he was off, not in a distance, but he was off to the left of me, I think. And all of a sudden, he mock charged me. And I'm like, holy crap. So I put my hands in the air and I screamed, yeah, screaming at him. And so then he went back to eating his clover or whatever else, his sedge grass. And I thought, okay, well, I showed him who's boss. And then I went back to photographing his sister, and I was backing up. And then he came running at me again. I didn't know this time. And because I was photographing his sister, I didn't know. And a quad came out of nowhere and drove in between me and the bears and at the charging bear, and then scared them away. And I had no idea I was being bluff charged. I'm sure it would have just been a bluff charge, but it's one of those things that you kind of want to crap your pants because you're in the middle of nowhere. You can't outrun a bear that runs 30 miles an hour, and you can't turn your back, and you have to charge them, because if you charge them, then you're the dominant one. But if you do anything other than that, you're going to get your ass kicked. And so I was really lucky because I didn't even realize he was running at me. So yeah, that was my.
Yeah. That's a good answer.
What did they say? The cameraman never dies.
I at that moment, I think I experienced a case of acute colonic evacuation.
Yes, that's.
So who was this quad? Did they just came up?
It was a somebody from a lodge next door, and they saw all this they saw all this coming apart. They saw all this transpiring at a distance, and I didn't know that they were there. And I had no idea. I was just in my own world photographing this 15-month-old female cub. And
did you get a good shot at least out of all this?
I have some shots. I don't know that they're that great. It was from a long time ago, but
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, you held in there, so that's good. No, that's helpful. I think that's good for rapid fire. So I think one thing we like to do as well is get a little bit more context of, as we discussed, you've obviously created a lot of things, but where did you grow up, and did you have any entrepreneurs in your family that kind of inspired you down this path?
No entrepreneurs. I grew up in a place called Onaway, northwest of Edmonton, and it's kind of on the way to nowhere.
Okay, so small town Alberta, and then you moved to Edmonton at what age?
I went to college in Red Deer for a year, and then I was in Edmonton when I was 19, I think.
19, okay. And then, so I know personal training, it sounds like that's the longest standing business you've had going. So I guess, what was the process to becoming a personal trainer? What were you doing before that? Like working a 9 to 5 or
yeah, you really want to know? So I've always been in some sort of sales. And when I was 19, I was living in my car selling vacuum cleaners.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was homeless for a while. I You have the choice of going back to Onaway, which has no jobs,
Yeah.
or living in the city and trying to make something work. And if you're on a 100% commission, you don't sell anything, you can't exactly drive back 45 minutes to, it's more than 45 minutes. Yeah, 45 an hour. You can't drive it back and forth an hour and a half each day when you have no money for gas.
Yeah.
You sleep in your car. And so that's what I did for a while in the summer. And actually, no, it was in the summer up until November, maybe, on and off.
So what got you into selling vacuum cleaners? Like that's not a very common 19-year-old job, I would say.
The promise of $600 a week, I think it was at the time, something like that. I don't know.
Okay. So you're selling vacuum cleaners, and then I guess what prompted you then to want to become a personal trainer?
That was further down the road, but vacuum cleaners. And then for about 8 months, I drove a truck and I got rear-ended in a car accident, and that ended my truck driving career. And then I went to school, and my dad died of heart disease around that time, and I was overweight. So I lost 40 pounds and then went to school. And as I was going to school, I was developing my logo and trying to figure out how to run my business. All that stuff I was doing while I was going to school. And before that, I sold steak and seafood door to door for 4 years. And so, as stupid as that sounds, I shouldn't say that because maybe people are out there selling steak and seafood thinking, well, that guy's a jerk for saying that. But no, I'm not much of a salesman. That's why it's as stupid as it sounds. So that company taught me how to run a business, because you had to be self-employed, and you had your truck rental every morning to pay for, and your ice rental every morning to pay for. So it's $34 in expenses before gas and food before you made any money. So on a micro stage, that was how I started learning to be an entrepreneur.
And so it sounds like right from the start, you never worked like a safe 9 to 5 job. Like, what do you think it was in you that made you, even like when you were, I guess, technically working for someone else or not starting your own thing, you were still in like a purely commission based role? Like, was there just something that always attracted to you of like, eat what you kill kind of role?
I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't know. It's just I have certain values, I think, and I don't like. I wouldn't do well in an environment where somebody told me, "Oh, you have to charge the customer for this, or you have to tell them that if he says this, and don't take no for an answer, or whatever, or be high pressure, all that stuff." I couldn't do that, and yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't know. I don't know why I didn't go 9 to 5 route. Really
So
didn't.
door to door sales is a tough one because it's basically a cold approach. What did you learn any lessons that you think were really valuable to someone who maybe
Tons.
is completely outside that? Because that seems like you would pick up a lot of really relevant skills there.
Well, tons, because I think the biggest one, and I'm really bad for this, I think the biggest one is just having thicker skin. Because, if you knock on 100 doors, you're gonna have 10 people really rude to you that day, and you're gonna annoy them because they're not gonna want you at your door. They are not gonna want you at their door, and so they're gonna say something that's really rude to you. 10 of those people, and then between 1 and 4 people, on a good day, 1 and 5 people might buy something from you, and all the rest pretend they're not home or aren't home, and yeah, it's just not really enjoyable. So I had a really good, because I wasn't very good at cold calling, I had a really good it was easier for me to have a really good customer service. So I kept really good notes and I had really good customer service. And so I had at the office the highest return buying ratio of anybody because I didn't want to knock on more doors than I had to. So
That's interesting. So you actually, I think when we think of sales, we think of like smooth talking sales guys who are just sell me this pen type of scenario. But it sounds like a lot of the lessons you learned were actually through, like you mentioned, like keeping spreadsheets and like really making sure that the I guess lifetime value of the customer was there, that you were like providing that. Yeah.
yeah, no, I like to keep in touch with customers because it's way easier to keep a customer than to find another one. Way easier.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So you're
Even
doing that.
Steve,
Sorry.
when you in Edmonton for another workout?
Yeah, you got me in a database somewhere. But yeah, so you're doing that, and then you go to school to become a personal trainer. Sounds like you had a bit of a health transformation yourself. You're working on your logo and stuff while you're going to school. So did it ever like cross your mind? Because you can be a personal trainer at like Good Life or a big box gym, but instead it sounds like right from the start you knew you wanted to do your own thing.
Oh yeah, my it's really funny. My mother and my whole family, if they said anything, it was this will never work. You're wasting your time. But they kind of thought, well, I'm glad I was 25 at the time. I'm glad he's going back to school, but boy, this is a waste of time. They don't hire personal trainers in Edmonton, and we're not LA, and for sure they're not going to let you come into their home. But
Yeah.
I saw 50-year-old women as people who raised their kids, and now it's time for them. And maybe they would let me into their house, and they did. So it it worked from that perspective. But again, I tried to I tried to hire a bunch of I tried to hire a bunch of classmates from school, and some of them just stole from me. When I say stole from me, I get them the customer, and then they tell me the customer didn't reorder, and then meanwhile they just took 100% of the commission instead of just their commission, right?
Yeah.
And so away they went, and that's happened lots of times over the last 28 years. They think that they can just take the customer and go, but what they don't realize is then when that person moves or dies or doesn't train with them anymore, then what are they going to do? They can't find more customers because they don't know how to, right? So anybody who ripped me off over the years, they're not in personal training anymore because they don't know how to run a business. They don't know how to acquire new business.
So I got a couple questions on that. So one, this going to people's homes, I'm guessing, like, what year would this have been? Because I feel like now maybe it's maybe a little bit more common with people having home gyms post-COVID.
Yeah, it's more common now. It's still not super common, and most personal trainers only last about 3 years. The good ones last 3 years. But going to homes, you'll see a decal on the side of somebody's vehicle saying in-home training. And if you were to follow that person, they probably wouldn't be in the industry more than 3 years tops.
So what is it that the turnover is so high?
Well, it's you have to get up early because their first clients are going to be anywhere between 6 and whatever. I usually see them from 6 to 9. And then you have a split shift, and then your next clients are going to be from 4 p.m. till 9 p.m. or after work hours, right? So it's a horrible hours to raise a family. And then in the middle, in between that, I work at the gym. So I take care of a corporate gym downtown. And from 10 till 2, I work there. So I basically work from 6 in the morning till 8 at night-ish. And most people aren't willing to do that because they want 9 to 5.
So what gave you that intuition then? Because you said everyone was telling you that like this isn't LA, no one's going to want personal training in their house. But it sounds like, you said that like you're seeing like, people who are 50 and they are viewing it as like it's their turn to train. But like, where did you do any like market testing or anything like that? Like what gave you the confidence to be like, I know this is going to work?
I had a hunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the things I do, it's just on a hunch.
Yeah.
It either works or doesn't.
Yeah. So once you started doing it, were you like immediately making enough money to support yourself?
Oh yeah, because when I started, I lived in a basement suite, So
Okay.
because I lived in the basement suite, it didn't take me very much to support myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So once you started it, you never had to go get another job or anything. Like basically once you graduated personal training school,
That
you've
was
been
it.
a personal trainer since.
Oh, even before I started my business 6 months before the course ended.
Okay. So even before you were done, you
You
were already living it.
you mentioned something you mentioned before was some of your classmates, you hired them, but they had trouble getting their own clients. You mentioned like they take the clients from you, but ultimately they stall out because they weren't able to keep that cycle going.
Yeah.
What was it that you have, or what sort of techniques, or like what was it that allowed you to sort of create this inertia and this traction that you think maybe others were lacking?
To acquire new clients?
Yeah.
Uh, well, a lot of it was the website. They didn't have a website, and this was back in '98. And in '98, the internet was just starting, and people. I mean, it had started, but people weren't searching it as much as you would think. And then it was really easy for me. So what I did was, you're gonna laugh, but Google won't allow this now. But what I did was I had 10 different websites. And so it was personaltraining.com, personaltrainer.com, fitandwell.com, fitandwell.ca. I had all these personal training. And so I didn't want to compete against my competition. I wanted to compete against me. So back in the old days, on the first page of Google, there'd be 4 or 5 pages of companies, and it would all be me. So I'd be the first. If you typed in personal trainer Edmonton, I'd be the first top 5 hits in the web on the page 1, and whether or not it was personaltrainer@home.com or personaltraining@home.com or fitandwell.com or fitandwell.ca, it was all me. So it was the same phone number, just different websites.
So to come up with that strategy, did you just have again, you mentioned hunches and you just sort of test that idea, saw it worked and continued with it? Or like, how did you learn this on your own? Because obviously other people weren't doing it.
No, other people didn't even have websites back then, hardly. It was very rare. So when I started, I was only the 3rd reputable personal training company in Edmonton. Just number 3. There were personal trainers in gyms, but they didn't have their own company. Like at the Kinsman and stuff, there were personal trainers there, but they didn't have their own company. So this is back before personal training was a thing, and it was a case of, and yeah, so I had those 5 websites or whatever, 10 websites, I can't remember what it was, but that was a do or die thing. And when you need to feed yourself, you're a little more desperate than when your competitors do their day of work and then go party afterwards. I did my day of work, and then I was, on a computer designing websites and trying different things because I didn't have anything to fall back on. Do you know what I mean? Like I've never had anything to fall back on.
So is that just going that little bit extra than your people you're competing against allowed you to get that edge?
Yeah, because they didn't see it as competing against people. They just they wanted to charge the most they could and do the least they could so that they could have the most time off afterwards. Because that is the attitude of most of my competition, I've never had a problem with acquiring business.
Yeah.
I always do more than what's asked of me anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So you're a personal trainer. It sounds like right from the start, you're able to support yourself. I guess when did the safaris come into the picture? Because I know you were doing photography and then you started to organize safaris to actually take other photographers to these destinations. So what was kind of, I guess, the background behind that?
So I started, my dad taught me principles of photography when I was, I don't know, 14. And then I didn't pick up a camera again until I was 27. And so all my holidays were based around, not that I took many, but my holidays were always based around nature. And then I really wanted to photograph polar bear mums and cubs. I thought it would be the coolest thing ever. And it was really expensive. Back then it was $650 a day. Now it's like $1,500 or something. And so I thought that was really expensive. But I went up there and met a bunch of like-minded people. And one of the things I really wanted to do is I really wanted to photograph these Kamag horses running across the ocean. And so by this point, I had a stable of colleagues in the same sort of mindset. So I invited them out and I said, let's get together because I can't afford it alone. It's like $5,000 a shoot or something. Let's get 10 of us get together and photograph these horses. And $5,000 a shoot is nothing if there's 10 of us. And so that wasn't, maybe it wasn't that much, but it was, I don't know, a couple grand. I don't know how much it was, but it was more than I wanted to spend. But anyway, with 10 of us, it was nothing. And so I did that in 2015 and 2016, I did it again. And then somebody in Kenya said, a manager of a lodge said, well, I'll see you next year. And I said, I can't afford to come out that next year. Like, this is way too expensive for me, but I'll come out when I can. And he said, well, I have no idea why he said this, but he said, well, if you want, bring a bunch of your colleagues, bring a bunch of your friends, bring whomever, I'll make it worth your while. And what, really? He said, yeah. So in 2017, I had, I don't know, 5 people or something. And they charged me the agent rate and I got the rack rate. So my trip was free. I thought, well, this is cool. So in 2018, I had a group of 18 people. And then I started the company from there. And at first, nobody would talk to me. They're like, no, I'm not going to give you any deal. I'm like, well, this other company does. And now most of the time, they fight for me. Like, they will, because they know when I go out there, I can bring up to 20 people. My biggest group is 25. So they're like, well, we really want you. What can we do to get your business? So that's, it's gone that far. And now I'm sort of slowing down on that because there's a lot of risks involved. I really like it, but all you need is one jerk of a client and it can ruin it for everybody. They can sour it for everyone if you have one client who's a jerk. And that's happened a couple of times. So now I'm at the point where I'll only take, I don't advertise it. I don't even have a website that advertises it really. I just take repeat guests and referrals. That's it.
And so it sounds like it initially started because you wanted to fund your own trip, but was this something, were you making like income off it, or was it always just to kind of cover your own trips, or like did it start to become a viable business?
Oh no, at first it was just to cover my trip. And then it wasn't long when I had a big group. I get the same rates that travel agencies get, but I don't have any brick and mortar, obviously. So I don't have all this rent and all this staff. It just means I have to do a lot more because, I have to find the place to book and I have to deal with them each place we book. And then I have to deal with getting the money from each person and then hosting them. And I have to do everything. So with the travel agencies, they just book a place. They don't do anything else. So, when you have to do it all, it's a lot. But again, all you need is one jerk of a client, and things can go sideways pretty quickly. Or what if there's an airline strike or some terrorist thing or whatever, right? It's kind of high, or COVID. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it's kind of high risk that way.
Yeah.
So,
and when you were getting, people for this trip, I think you mentioned like some of the trips were like 20 people or something. Was it always just your personal network that allowed you to like fill up these trips?
I think it started that way. And then people had such a good time on the trips, they'd say, well, I want to do XYZ trip. And I said, okay, great. We'll organize it. But now I'm going to need something from you. If you want me to do that trip for you, I'll do the research and I'll figure it out and I'll get you the best places. But you got to bring me a few people because I can't just charter a yacht and if people drop out, then I'm screwed. I'm left holding the bag, right? So, so people started referring, and what really helped for them was they really like if it's a family trip, they love it. It's way more fun if you're traveling with your family, or if you have two couples that you always travel with. So I have lots of trips where it's 4 couples, and then or 3 couples or something, and then all I have to do is add a couple people on my own, and there you've got a trip.
So it sounds like it's a lot of that similar technique that you talked about, like keeping the same customer, putting that effort into the customer service, the relationships is what kind of was the value you're providing. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So I do a lot of things that other people don't do. Like I'll show you. Let's see. So I have a laser machine, and after their trip, they get. I don't know if you can see it. So you have a laser machine, and I laser a picture from the trip. You can see the leopard there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
The backside.
So it's glass with a leopard.
Yeah. This actually doesn't even have it on here. Anyway, on the backside, it'll show. I guess I didn't finish that one. On the backside, it'll show what year. It'll say Kenya 2025 or whatever. And I make safari journals. Let me show you that too. See, this is the back of the safari journal, and on the other side, it's some helpful Swahili words. So it's wood, but inside of pages. So it's got an animal checklist and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, I do stuff that other companies don't do. Nobody else does. And maybe they'll have a book, the same book that they give every single person that year. But mine is individual for that specific trip. I even have I know this is not video for everybody else, but see, I have these luggage tags.
Yeah.
The luggage tags I make in a laser too. So when we have 20 people and each person has 3 bags, they have color-coded luggage tags. So when you go somewhere and they don't speak English, they know enough to say the red bags go to tent 17 and blue bags go to tent 16. And people don't really think about the organization that goes into it. But if anything goes sideways, that's all they'll think of. That's all they'll ever
remember.
That's all they'll ever think about is, boy, the logistics were terrible. So everything has to be really smooth, because if it's not really smooth, that's what will stand out.
So
yeah, I think that's like the business story. I can't remember what it's called, but it essentially goes like, if you won't remember the toilet paper, but if the toilet paper is missing, you're going to remember that. It's like
yeah.
So both these businesses are really focused on like repeat customers. Is this something you purposely, like in your head, you're like, okay, I know I'm not, what you said, like the best cold approach or cold email or whatever, but once you make contact with someone, then you're good at maintaining that relationship and doing these small things to keep it going. So when you went into business, did you purposely think about this? Like, I want to do an industry where there's repeat sales, or is this just something that you kind of like fell into and then it became a strength of yours?
Well, I think both, because I'm not a salesman, so I can't sell people on stuff. So because I can't sell people on stuff, what I have to believe in. It has to be awesome, and then I need them back again, because I can't sell. I can't cold call I just can't cold call. It's just not in me. I'm not very good at it.
Yeah. But it wasn't something where like you were debating between doing 2 industries or something. You're like, okay, let's find something with repeat customers.
I don't even think I was looking. The safari thing, I wasn't even looking. I started doing it because I wanted to go to Africa more frequently, and I didn't have the money to pay for it.
Yeah.
So this was
kind of came to.
Yeah, this was perfect, because my trip could be paid for, and if I have enough people, I can make money. So at first, I didn't care if there was only 7 people, because it just paid my expenses. But then after that, I realized, boy, more than that is gravy, and it'll pay me more than my personal training company does. So it's win-win. And then I couldn't drop either one, because I couldn't drop the personal training in case COVID came back, which I think it probably will. And now I have 2 full-time jobs, which is even worse than 2 full-time jobs, because a lot of people think full-time is 30 hours. So basically I work from morning till night every day, because I don't want to quit the personal training, because in case COVID shows up. And I don't want to quit the safaris, because one day I want to quit the personal training. So I just keep doing them both. So yeah, it's tough running 2 companies, though, I'll tell you. Yeah. harder running 3. But
Yes, that's a good segue. So when we reconnected, you were talking about how right now you're looking at launching your third business, which is the purchase of a big, like kind of nature, I guess, piece of land. So I don't know. Do you want to explain how that came about?
yeah, I think it came about because I'm insane. Okay, so in Canada and the States, primarily Canada, if our idea of wildlife tourism is, hey, there's a cougar, let's charge a wealthy American 30 grand and let's go kill it. But it's the stupidest business plan, because in Africa, they don't say this, but this is their attitude: let's habituate that animal. And people are going to want to see that. They're going to come to your camp to see that leopard because it's someone habituated. And if they can get close enough to take pictures of it, you can charge them $1,000 a night per person. So if it's $1,000 a night per person in perpetuity, because that animal will have cubs, and then that animal will teach the cub not to be scared of humans, and then those cubs will teach their cubs not to be scared of humans. So now we're talking $1,000 a night per person, times, it could be 20 people to lodge at the same time. Well, that amounts to a whole lot more money than $30,000, doesn't it? But we're stupid here in Canada. We're absolute complete morons, because all we can think of is killing stuff. And we don't realize, you don't have to like feed them or anything, but you didn't realize that if you're just in their presence regularly and you're not hurting them, and you start out at a distance, and then pretty soon you can get relatively close to them without them caring. When we photograph the brown bears up north, we're sometimes 4 or 5 feet away from these big, massive brown bears, and they just keep eating. They don't care. They know you're not going to do anything. In fact, one of the bears, Crimpier, I've photographed her since 2011. She will search the photographers out. Last time I saw her, she brought her triplets to us, like from a mile away, brings her triplets to us, lays down and starts nursing 15 feet away from us, because she knows that we're not going to hurt her, but the wolves might and other bears might. So she's in a really vulnerable position when she's on her back nursing, and so are her cubs. But she's not in a vulnerable position when she uses us as a buffer zone. So animals are pretty smart, and they start to realize that even like the red foxes in Canada, red foxes will den near humans because coyotes will kill them, and coyotes don't like humans. So they den often under granaries and on the sides of gravel roads. They'll see them, and they'll den near people to protect themselves. And so, one of the lodges had a red fox, and we'd come back, and the thing is habituated and just hanging out on the lawn. It knows we're not going to hurt it. Somebody probably fed it, but it knows we're not going to hurt it. So it would just hang out there, and it was so special to come back and have this red fox there, greet us essentially at the end of our day. And so anyway, I think we can do that in Canada. It might take a while, but I think it can be done. And I'm willing to risk a lot on a hunch.
So so what you're trying to do essentially is purchase a plot of land where there would be animals on this land, and then you would take photographers out there to then take photos of them rather than kill them.
Yeah. So in Africa, some places in Africa, they have blinds, and they'll have a blind, and they'll have a blind that has a body of water in front of it, and you're in the blind, the animal can't see you. And when they come to drink, you take pictures of it because they're thirsty, right? Well, we can have blinds here, but the water isn't going to help that much because they're not thirsty for water because there's water everywhere. And it doesn't get that hot. But still, in the wintertime, fresh water would be nice to drink. So we'll have a blind, and we'll have one of those heaters that they use for horses. Just keep it in the water so the water doesn't freeze. And then the animals will come there to drink. Because it's a lot nicer for them to drink fresh water than it is to eat snow, right? So, we'll have blinds. We'll have blinds set up around the property, and I don't have the $2.3 million that it takes to buy this 230 acres. Is it 2.3 million? 2.3 million. I don't have 2.3 million, but I have a chunk. And so I'm trying to think, well, how the heck am I going to do this? So what I've done is I've reached out to other photographers and I've said, and just people I know, here's a beautiful property. And it is a gorgeous property. It's a peninsula of land surrounded by the North Saskatchewan River. And anyway, so the lodge houses 14 comfortably, and my pitch is for 100 grand. You can use that lodge X number of days a year, and in the meantime, we'll start the rewilding process and the habituation process. And during that time, until we can get the photographers coming out, we'll have we'll host weddings and that sort of thing on the property as well. So that weddings and glamping and tenting and things like that to pay the bills, because it's going to cost like $5,000 a month to run this place. But long term, I want those photographers because that's what's really going to pay the bills. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. People say, "Oh, I'm going to do it," but you don't know that they're really going to do it until you see the check. But yeah, I probably need 5 to 7 more people in for 100 grand each, and then I'll be able to purchase the property.
And how many roughly have you gotten so far to like how many, I guess, unique investors have like contributed to like the purchase?
Well, nobody's contributed yet because I haven't asked for the money, but they're in. I have 9 people, and I've had them come to the lodge and check it out and have a barbecue and that sort of thing.
And these are all just personal network that you found these.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They're all people that I know, and I've kind of run out of people that I know. Yeah, I have 9 people that I know that are pumped about using that property, and my pitch to them is, wildlife aside, never mind that. If you live in the city and you want a lake lot, it's going to cost you $600,000 to $1 million, and then you're going to feel guilty because you're not out there enough, because family gets in the way, work gets in the way, and you're going to think, why did I spend $1 million on this? And then I go out there and I have to mow the lawn. I have to mow the lawn, and I have to, do the maintenance and paint and stain and all that stuff. So my pitch to them is, you spend 100 grand, you help me buy the property. When I'm hosting weddings, the property has to be pristine. So I'm going to spend I'll do all the maintenance, and you just come out and enjoy. So for 100 grand, you can enjoy this 230 acre property. And it has no neighbors. That's the other thing about lake lots. You have neighbors 40 feet away. This property has one neighbor that is 1 kilometer away, and it's your closest neighbor. So, and it's across the river. So to me, it's a no-brainer. It's not, why would you invest it? Why wouldn't you invest? It's only 100 grand. So yeah, I need some more, because when I say 2.3 million, that includes 400,000 in upgrades. So I'm not going to purchase the property unless I have the 400,000 I need. A couple $100 grand for 2 years worth of expenses, and B, a couple $100 grand in renovations.
Gotcha. And so primarily the business model, by what you're saying, is that the weddings and the glamping would kind of cover your operating expenses, but you think the photography is going to be where you're going to like make your return on this investment.
Yeah, long term is photography, but who knows when it'll kick in? It might be 5 years.
So how do you, I guess, and is this something where you've done any market testing, or again, this is kind of like you have a hunch, like the photography industry well, and you think that like people are going to, yeah.
Well, if they do it, okay, so have you ever seen those pictures where an osprey is coming down and landing, or it's got his talons out and it's about to pick a fish up from the water, or it just picked up? Okay. Have you ever thought of how that picture was taken?
No.
Okay. Because what are the odds? You're in a rowboat or whatever, and there's an osprey there. Oh, look, an osprey just picked up a fish from the water. Have you even ever seen an osprey pick up a fish from the water?
No.
Okay. So here's what they do in Finland. They have a really long kind of canal, and they fill it with water, and they put trout in it, and then they put a blind at the end. Now the fish, the osprey can't come in at an angle because it's not going to be able to pick up the fish that way. It needs a runway. So it's got a narrow runway, and you had a bunch of trout in there. Well, the osprey can see the trout from the air. So it comes down, picks up the fish, and as it's flying up, it has to fly up to clear the blind. That's where the photographers are.
Gotcha. Okay. So I see the value then, I guess, to like photographers. So I mean, this might be a really dumb question, but like, do you put animals on this peninsula, or like, are all the animals there already? And with like, how does that work?
A lot of them are there already. Like every time I go out there, I see something really cool, like an osprey having a bath in the river, or deer crossing the river, or whatever. But they're not habituated in the least, for starters. Secondly, if you build it, they will come. Yeah, well, sort of. You know that movie, Kevin Costner, if you build it, they will come. Okay, so if you have the right situation, it will encourage animals to come in. So for instance, it's not illegal to have hay out in the wintertime, but it's not illegal, but if you do that, the deer will show up in droves because they don't have much to eat. They have bark. They eat bark and twigs in the wintertime. So, yeah, it's not illegal to have hay out in the wintertime. It's your property. You can leave a bale of hay out. But what happens if you leave a bale of hay out in the wintertime? It'll attract the deer. And what happens when the deer flourish? They'll have more fawns in the spring. And what happens when they have more fawns in the spring? Well, what goes after the fawns? Those animals will show up too, because they have now it might take a while to get the word out, but that's the way nature goes. When there's enough food for one animal, there are more animals. And then when there's enough prey, then there are more predators. And it's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Interesting. So, okay. So that makes some sense. So then you talked about something where you said like, you're willing to risk a lot on this investment, this idea. Like, is that something that, I think is like you've had to train yourself to be willing to like take that risk on like a new business venture? Because you've started a lot of things, you've run a lot of things, you've obviously proven that like you can operate a business. Is that something like, is it easy for you? Like, is that something you're always looking for a challenge? Have you had to like work on it? Like, what's that kind of like for you?
God, no, it's not easy. I grew up on a hobby farm, but I'm no farmer, but now I have to learn how to be a farmer. And
yeah.
Essentially, like I haven't raised chickens in years. Yeah, I'm going to raise some chickens. And yeah, when you have free range chickens, a couple of them might get eaten by something. But anyway, we need chickens for the lodge, and we need eggs for the lodge. And anyway, it's risky, and I plan to do everything by the letter of the law. And I even called Fish and Wildlife, and they said, I told them my idea, and they were mad. The lady was mad because she said I was baiting the deer by planting alfalfa. And I said, well, farmers have been planting alfalfa for thousands of years. I don't know how it's baiting deer. And then she said, well, they didn't take pictures of them. Like, okay, lady, that's a real crime. They didn't take pictures of them. They're not worried about the farmers that plant grain so they track the deer in the fall, so that when the deer are eating the grain, the hunters shoot the deer. They do that all the time on farmland everywhere. Hunters do it all the time. But you're worried about me taking pictures of deer. Okay. All right. She said, that's a gray area. That's pretty bad. Like, okay, lady, whatever. Anyway, I was just trying to, be upfront with things. But anyway, people do it all the time, except what they do for hunting purposes. I want to do it for photography purposes.
Yeah, I actually like, you've got a property that's 230 acres. That sounds like a lot of space. Why not do both is the first question I'm asking. Like, you could see like you're having a wedding and there's also wildlife around. Like, it seems like kind of a win-win. Like, I know weddings are a huge business, but it seems like you also have the flexibility of multiple paths if something doesn't.
Yeah. So the wedding, I call it a ceremony point in the west, where the lodge is. That's not where the wildlife is. The wildlife is way north of there. So having a wedding in one area doesn't interfere with the wildlife in the other. It's fine.
And is your plan to like continually do weddings? Like once it's up and running and everything, like you want this to be a wedding property as well going forward?
I have no idea.
You're gonna figure it out as you go.
You throw enough crap at the wall and you see what sticks and what's profitable, and that's what you go with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So-
then, you know, the wildlife photography thing might not even work. So if it doesn't work at all, I'm willing to, because the property is so beautiful, I'm willing to do what it takes, what other people aren't willing to do to make it profitable.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll just see whatever business line becomes the most profitable for you. That's what you'll lean into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So then I guess like, you know, listening to your story and stuff, it seems like you're very good at, you know, taking these risks, starting over, starting something new. What advice would you give to someone who's like thinking about trying to do something new? As someone who's experienced and has done it multiple times, like what do you think is like the most important factor that gives you that ability to keep, you know, taking these chances and then starting a successful business?
Well, first of all, I don't know how successful any of them are. I'm not a multi-millionaire. But you know, money isn't everything to me. I could retire quite comfortably in 15 years just doing what I'm doing. But it gets to the point where you don't have anything to look forward to each morning because it's just the same stuff. Nothing is challenging or on the edge. So I need something. I need a little bit of an adrenaline rush. And I really think this is going to work. I really hope this is going to work. And figure out how to make it work, right? But I haven't had anything that hit where it's like, oh man, you're making 10 grand a day or some crazy thing like that. Could you imagine? No, I haven't had anything like that.
So I guess what would you say to someone then who's like maybe a little hesitant to like, you know, if they're thinking about starting a business or something like that?
I would say do it if you're passionate about it and you're willing to work really hard.
Yeah.
But don't ever, if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you think your day starts at 9 and ends at 5, you're very lucky if you're an entrepreneur and you can do that. I know 2 people that do that because they're just in that sort of window where they can do that. And I only stopped working 7 days a week, maybe 5 years ago. And then I stopped working 6 days a week, maybe 2 years ago. And now I'm back to working 7 days a week again because I have that third company to work on. So yeah, basically I work 7 days a week. So I don't have kids. I had two step kids, but you know they're been raised and gone. But yeah, if you want to work 30 hours a week or 40 hours a week and be an entrepreneur, do something else. Unless you're getting money from your parents, do something else because that's not going to work.
Would you say though, like it felt like, I know like sometimes the days don't feel as long when you're doing something you're passionate about. Is that kind of where you're coming from with the ability to work these long hours?
Yeah, I don't think about it. I just I don't think, oh man, I can't wait till this day's over. No, I just keep keep going to the next thing. It's all I know. I don't know what it's like working an 8-hour day because I haven't had that since I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
What's been a highlight of your career?
I think doing something that nobody's done and had people tell me it would never work, and then it worked. I freaking love that. I love when people say, like, even with this new company, they're like, "Oh yeah, that'll never work." I'm like, "Great, that's just fuel for my fire." I love it. I'm glad you're saying that because those people are going to see my website, and in 5 years, they're going to see it on the news and all over the place, all over the media, and they're going to go, "I could have been part of that."
Yeah, I love it.
And I'm going to love that.
That's great. As we wrap up here, how can people find you, learn more about you, get in contact?
You know, I'm pretty open book. Greg at hwphoto.ca is my email address. Yeah, if you want to go on an African safari, even if I don't host you or organize it for you, I got lots of answers for you on how to do it. Because again, it's something that people don't know anything about but want to do it. So I kind of have a niche area there. And yeah, if you have any questions, email me. I'm happy to chat with people.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, yeah, no, thank you so much for taking the time. It's really interesting to hear sort of how all these different businesses started and how you're, doing it all over again. I think that's awesome and really inspiring.